We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. It is Wednesday, and here's the thing. We're doing a TikTok live. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Mike, you got taken down last night, and they suspended you for a week or so. And that's true. On the Rational Boomer account, I cannot do a live until July 21st, which kind of sucks, especially when I don't even know what the hell I did or what happened in this whole process. But what they forgot to remember is I have a second account. Now, with the second account, a lot of the things that I'm doing on this account really don't have to do with politics. A little bit about politics, a little bit about stories. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do in this situation, but it's kind of dependent on who shows up. We're not going to have quite the crowd that we have on my normal Rational Boomer lives, but we'll get some people in here and we'll talk about some stuff. We can talk about anything from the music business to other experiences I've gone through, or we can talk about politics. There are certain things going on in politics that we need to address. Donald Trump is having all kinds of trouble at this point. As I said, with this particular Rational Boomer account, Rational Boomer 2, I don't have as many followers. So what's going to happen here is going to be a little lighter than normal with the normal Rational Boomer TikTok lives. What I will say is this: we're probably going to get a lot less Trump humpers and probably less opportunity for them to try to take me down. I think I'm still at the point right now where I can't take guests. I'm not positive of that, but I think, yeah, I've got to do a couple more lives before I can take guests. And that's always, one of the things I enjoy doing the most, an opportunity to talk to the people that are out there, because what you have to say is certainly just as important as anything I might have to say. We normally have the regular panel and people coming out of the crowd. We're not going to be able to do that today. We're going to have to go based on your questions and comments in the comment file. So I encourage you to make those questions and comments. Otherwise, we got no motherfucking show. We got no show if you don't say anything. So we need you to participate. TJ the Plumber's here. He is a moderator for my regular Rational Boomer Live, along with Rebecca. And we'll see some other people that show up as well. Hey, TJ, glad to see you come. It's kind of interesting as we're watching what's going on in politics these days with Donald Trump. He's really painted himself into a corner at this point. He's got all kinds of trouble. And this is what narcissists do. They lie, they cheat, they fuck around, and then they get caught because there's too much going on and they just can't handle it. And that's where Donald Trump finds himself right now. Prior to the election, he was talking about all this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, how the Dems are trying to hide it, how we've got to get this stuff released. Then, of course, he gets elected, puts his people in place, and they say, yeah, nothing to see here. Well, people aren't buying that, especially the Trump-fucks. They were promised this. These are red meat-eating, mouth-breathing, stupid motherfuckers that want to see this. And if you tell them that it's not available or it doesn't exist, they aren't going to buy it. In fact, they're going to be wondering if Donald Trump isn't lying. Can you imagine that? Donald Trump lying about something? Well, we've all known that all along, but now maybe Trump-fucks are starting to wake up to the fact that he's a pathological liar. So it was interesting when he was being interviewed today earlier that somebody asked him about the Epstein thing. He says, I don't even know why anybody's interested in that. It's boring. It's boring. We know the stories behind Jeffrey Epstein. We know the horrors and the atrocities this fucker committed. And we know there are a lot of people of importance, of fame, of wealth that were involved, especially Donald Trump. We know he shows up in this account. And Donald Trump was asked about it, and he basically said, just forget about it. It's nothing here. Well, you can't tease Trump-fucks for 4 or 5 years with this and tell them how horrible it is, and then say there's nothing there. They aren't going to buy that stuff. They're too caught up in the conspiracy theories. Even this real shit they're going to have a problem with. Biker D said, he said Epstein was a creep. Yeah, I got that too. I thought that was funny. Creep. Motherfucking Donald Trump is a creep. Tony says, thanks for all you do. You're the best. Well, depends on who you talk to. If you talk to my family, you might get some kickback over that, but I appreciate it just as much. You know, it's funny. I'm looking. We've got 26 people, 27 people in the audience. And I kind of like that to a certain extent because it gets a little crazy in the regular TikTok lives, but we can have as many as 500 to 1,000 in there. So when I was talking to TJ about, he was a moderator for me, he says, well, I can be there. And I said, well, yeah, I hope you show up, but I don't think you need to. It's not going to be quite as hectic as what we normally see. And that's pretty much how it's playing out. Have you noticed there were some pictures put out about Donald Trump today? They keep showing this bruising on his hands. I don't know if he's on a blood thinner or something like that. I remember my grandfather got bruising on his hands from a blood thinner. But there's another thing that was showing up. They took pictures of him when he was sitting down, and they took pictures of his ankles. And they're fucking huge. They are really puffed out. And that is a sign of other problems. You know, I forgot what the name of it was. My dad had it when he died. And your legs just get huge and all puffed out. Erlene Griggs Ellis says, hey, Mike. Hey, Erlene, how you doing? Nice to see all you folks showing up and talking with me here, because I need you, man. I can talk for an hour straight, but I can't guarantee you it's going to be good. So I'm going to need your input, your questions, your comments. And I know there's a lot of people out there. Tam says, oh, yeah, he has a problem, all right. Well, let's face it. He's 79 years old. He eats McDonald's all the time. He's not in good physical health. You can see it. If his face wasn't painted orange, it would be gray. It would be absolutely gray. And you wonder how long he can keep up this pace. Because over and above, TJ, the plumber, says edema. Yeah, that's exactly right. My dad had that before he died, and his legs were just puffed out. And that's what it looks like on Donald Trump. He looks like he has something other than the perfect health reports he normally gets. He's old. He's not in the best shape. And I wouldn't doubt if something like that were occurring with Donald Trump. So over and above what's going on with Epstein, and we'll talk more about that later. He said something today. He was talking in front of the press, and he said to the press, we have no inflation and prices are coming down. We're making all kinds of money. Well, there's something else that came out today. Inflation is up to about 2.8%. Consumer prices are up 3%. But he'll flat out lie to you about that and expect you to believe it. Now, you and me, we're not going to believe that bullshit. And to be perfectly honest, some of the Trump-la-fucks are starting to get a little wary of his truthfulness with this Epstein thing. And I don't think they're buying it at all, but we certainly do have inflation. The world isn't a better place. This country is not a better place. It's a worse place because of Donald Trump. Dr. Jim says he's in shape. Round is a shape, and so is a pear. I'll have to agree with you there. This term will do him in. The sooner, the better. Yeah, I've said that before. I don't think he can last through the entire term. I thought it was funny that everybody was wondering if Joe Biden could last. And the fact of the matter is I bet you Joe Biden lasts longer than Donald Trump, and Joe Biden's got cancer. So we'll see. But Joe's certainly in a lot better shape, eats better, takes care of himself. Donald Trump does none of that stuff. And when you get the kind of pressure he's got on his back, knowing that he's having to flail around here and try to talk himself out of these lies and these embarrassments and these failures, it takes a lot out of somebody's body and soul. Forgive me there. I suggested Donald Trump has a soul, and I guess we know that's not necessarily the case. Donald Trump is a soulless motherfucker, and he proves it every day. Did you hear this story about the food stuff? There's apparently 500 metric tons of food that is intended to go to starving children, biscuits and that sort of thing, to help keep kids alive. And they were supposed to be sent out sometime back, and now they're apparently at or near their expiration date. So the intention of Donald Trump's administration is deciding to incinerate 500 metric tons of food, and there's kids starving all over the world. This is who Donald Trump is. He talks about waste. He talks about waste, and then he does nothing but waste money. That food costs the U.S. government $800,000. To burn it is going to be $150,000. So there's $1 million just thrown down the toilet because Donald Trump has his little fucking tantrum and he can't react to anything quickly enough. That's the thing with Donald Trump. He's always failing in everything he does. I know he loves to talk about when COVID was around and he got the vaccine, and it was from that group called Warp Speed, and he got it so fast. Well, he did get it very fast, but if you remember, when it was available, he had no plan to distribute it. So nobody got the vaccine. It was impossible to get the vaccine. It wasn't until Joe Biden took office that the vaccine started to be distributed. But that's part and parcel who Donald Trump is. He's a fucking failure. And he may come up with some ideas, or somebody will come up with some ideas, but guaranteed at some point he will fuck it up. Robert NSC says he's probably giddy about starving kids. Yeah, people say that. It's all about the cruelty, and damned if it isn't. I mean, just burning the food for starving children, that is the essence of cruelty, over and above all the other things he does. Christian44 says, I'm sorry, you're wrong on all talking points. Yeah, I beg to differ, and I think I know who your Lord and Savior is, so we just block that motherfucker. Were you okay with open borders? Charlotte Harrison. Was I okay with open borders? How open were they? I mean, the fact of the matter is that the borders have been a problem for decades. They've always been a problem. Now, the borders are a little lighter these days. There are less people coming across the border. And you know why that is? It's because this country has become such a shithole and not a favorable place to come. If you want safety, if you want a good life, this isn't the place to come. That's why nobody's coming here anymore. But it's fine to say, was I okay with open borders? Are you okay with starving children? Are you okay with citizens being rounded up and put in concentration camps? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with making promises to reveal Jeffrey Epstein's situation and then not coming through and saying there's nothing there? Are you okay with 34 felony convictions? Are you good with that? See, that's the thing. You open borders. Well, fuck the open borders. We've had problems with the borders for decades. Now we got people being kicked off of Medicaid. We've got people struggling with their own health care. We've got prices going up. You can argue with me all you want, but the prices of food is going up by 3% in the last month, and inflation went up by 2.8%. That is the opposite of what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said prices would come down. They're going up. Donald Trump said he would stop the wars. The wars are raging on. Donald Trump has been nothing but a failure since he entered back into the Oval Office, and there's no way you can argue with me about it. The facts are the facts. Howard Paulson, a good friend of ours who's been on the podcast many times, a dictatorship has never had a peaceful transfer of power. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Monica says, I think you're amazing. Well, I'm not amazing, but I appreciate that. Master Chip, my main dude, Boomer. Apple saucer, Apple user. Hi, Mike. Jelly Bean, not a lot shocks me about the administration, but this is absolutely outrageous. You know, that's the funny thing is every day we hear something yet again outrageous, something cruel, something atrocious. And I'm glad I'm starting to see some Democrats fight back. We're seeing Gavin Newsom in California. We're seeing John Ossoff, a senator from Georgia. There are a lot of likely possible candidates for for the presidency for the Democrats coming up. It's still a little too early to tell, but we're going to have some people coming through, and we're going to need it. We're going to need it. We're going to need a fighter. You know, we've got all these old people in Congress, these Democrats, and they want to play it nice and easy, play it fair. Here's the problem. We're playing against people who aren't fair. We're playing against people who will cheat, who will step on your toes, do anything. And we need tough people to fight against them. If you think you can do what you did leading up to the November 5th election, well, then you've learned nothing at all. Analytical Iowan, Eric, we hear supposedly open borders under Democrats, but yet Obama and Biden deported more for less. That's a good point, Eric. We always talk about the open borders. And Donald Trump is desperate to be the biggest deporter of all time. And the fact of the matter is, he's not even close to what Obama did. And the reason Donald Trump is having so much trouble, he doesn't strategize, he doesn't think about it ahead of time. What he does is just jumps in headlong and just does it. And he's incompetent along the way. He's so incompetent that he can't be successful in anything he does. So while this is a big deal to him, he's going to get a lot of money for ICE, he's still going to fail at it. Think about everything he's ever done, and he's done nothing but fail. Peggy says, we are on a watch list from most other countries warning their people not to come here. Yeah. And you know what? I think most other countries understand it's not the people of America. It is, in fact, the regime that's currently in office, Donald Trump and the Trump-lefucks. But, you know, if I was talking to somebody that lived in another country and they said, hey, I want to come over and see you, I'd say, wait this one out. Especially if you're a person with brown skin, this is not the place for you to go. So the one thing I will say about Donald Trump, he did slow things up at the border, but he had to terrify people, he had to torture people, and in the process, people aren't coming. Craig says there was a bipartisan bill addressing the border, and Trump said, don't do it. He wanted to run on it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There was an answer to the border problem, and Joe Biden was part of that answer, and so were the Democrats. It was ready to pass. The Republicans even liked it, up until the point that Donald Trump said, yeah, no, don't pass it. We don't want Joe Biden to get a win. And that's why that border bill hasn't passed. And, you know, it's funny, the Republicans have power now. Have they passed a border bill? No. No, they haven't. They're trying to do things, and Donald Trump thinks just by virtue of him being in office, anything that good happens must mean he did it. I'll give you an example. We have the World Cup championship. Chelsea wins. They're going to give them the trophy. They're up on the stand. Donald Trump is standing there because he needs to partake in the glory. When they introduce him and he waves, he doesn't leave. He stands there in front of the team that just won the World Cup. Then somehow he gets a hold of the trophy and he takes the fucker home like he's deserving of it. Jennifer Davies says, you have calmed me down despite the hellish 6 months. Well, I appreciate that, Jennifer, and I think that's one of the things that kind of urges me to do this. When people say, I've been freaking out, I've been upset, I've been scared, and I've been able to calm some people down. Here's the deal. it is what it is. What's happening is what's happening, and we just got to stay level-headed and continue to fight. This country's been in situations, I won't say like this, because we've never been in a situation like this, but we've had bad times in this country. The 1960s were incredibly turbulent. We had assassinations, we had a war, we had riots, we had civil rights, we had women's rights, LGBTQ rights, we had protest, and as I said, some riots. And this, we got through that. We got through that, and we got to the 70s. So there's no reason not to be calm. We don't like what's happening now, but we will get out of this eventually. And if you look at the Republicans and you look at Donald Trump, you can see them starting to crumble at this point. Honestly, I'm not surprised that they're starting to crumble, but I am terribly surprised that it's taken this long, really. I have no idea why it's taken this long. Piper Poppy says, does he think he is the father of FIFA? No doubt, no doubt. You know, with those fucking ankles and that big gut and that dirty diaper, he could be a hell of a goalie, take up the whole net. Biker D says, but he's mad now. He gave Vlad 50 days or else. Oh, I love that. How many times has he give Vladimir Putin an ultimatum? And then Vladimir Putin goes out and bombs the piss out of someplace in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is laughing at him. When he gave him that 50-day notice, they basically mocked him when they responded to it. And for whatever reason, Donald Trump doesn't respond to that. He's apparently scared to death of Vladimir Putin. He's Vladimir Putin's boy. But here's the deal. He's going to give him 50 days. And if he doesn't get a ceasefire within those 50 days, then he's going to put tariffs on him. That's what he's going to do. He's going to put tariffs on him of 100%. Cool story, bro. But here's the deal. We don't import much, if anything, from Russia. So it doesn't mean anything. This is Donald Trump just making threats. And he's got to understand. Well, apparently he doesn't understand. The thing is, Russia isn't terrified of Donald Trump. Vladimir Putin's not afraid of Donald Trump. He knows what a fool Donald Trump is. He's done nothing but played Donald Trump the whole time. William Fawcett says, Trump is doing a great job. He is currently blocked and won't be blocked. And it's not because he likes Donald Trump, but because he's stupid. He's too stupid to be here. I'm not going to interact with somebody stupid, and none of you should have to do that either. In fact, if you see Trump the fucks out there in the comments, don't even engage with them. It's not worth it. You can't teach them anything. You can give them facts and truth, and they can't comprehend that. Chili Bean says, agree, we need Gavin Newsom. We need the younger people. There are so many good individuals. Yeah, Gavin Newsom, I don't know if I'm sold on him as a president, but he's better than a lot of people. He's a fighter. He's sharp. He's articulate. There's another one, though, too, John Ossoff from Georgia. He's running for his Senate seat in Georgia for 2026. But don't be surprised if you see him be a candidate for president. He's very articulate. He's very tough. He gets in Donald Trump's face, and he's not afraid to do it. And that's a good thing to hear from Democrats, because we don't see that much. There's a lot of gutless fucks on the Democratic side, unfortunately. Curtis Carmon says $40 million bounty. Yeah, that's interesting. That's truly interesting that we've got Iran calling out, what do they call it? Well, they put a $40 million bounty on Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if any of those people can get to him. But for a guy who thinks everybody in the world loves him, that's kind of a contradictory situation, isn't it? Wesley Rio, Trump is self-destructing. Well, you're absolutely right. That's what he's doing. And that's what all narcissists do ultimately. They all self-destruct because they think they're smarter than they are. They take on too much. It all becomes overwhelming, and they don't know what the fuck to do at that point. I hear Mike Johnson wants to release the files on Epstein. Yeah, that was an interesting situation. Mike Johnson came out, spoke to the press, and says he's all for transparency, full transparency, and they should release the info so the people can see it. That's the right thing to do. Hell, Donald Trump's own daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, said the same thing, which is ironic. But when you talk about Mike Johnson saying we should be transparent, and then he goes downstairs and whips up votes to not be transparent. It's hard to believe anything coming out of Mike Johnson's mouth. Everything is basically coming from a string that Donald Trump is pulling. Mike Johnson is a joke, and he's never, you can't count on him to tell the truth. He's just not going to do it. Did he really slow things up, or are the numbers real? I'm not sure what you're talking about there, or what number is real. Curtis Carmon says he just threatened Japan. Hadn't heard that. Please elaborate. I would like to hear that. Cruelty is the point. Incineration of food for children. We talked about that earlier. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. Now, I understand this food is beyond its expiration date, but it still could be valuable. The reason it's beyond its expiration date is because of what Donald Trump did with USAID, and it sat there rotting on the docks or in storage, and because Donald Trump didn't do anything with it. He didn't have any plan. I mean, if you've got $1 million with it, he didn't have any plan. I mean, if you've got $1 million worth of product there, you would think you'd want to do something with it, at least bring it back into this country and give it to kids that are hungry here. But he didn't do that. That's not how Donald Trump does things. He just simply does these erratic, irrational responses and has no plan after that. Trucker T is here. Hey, Trucker. MTG said they didn't pass this list is because they didn't want the Democrats to have the floor. Yeah, you got to own the libtards. Don't do what's right. Just own the libtards. Yeah, I don't see that as a good excuse. I'm not surprised by that excuse, but it's not a good one. Catherine says, I thought it was a joke about the trophy. Honestly, I did too. I thought it was ridiculous. And then when I got to think about it, that's what Donald Trump does. Donald Trump sees somebody having success, and he likes to jump in the middle and try to gain some of the adulation that's going on. Think about this. Iran and Israel are going at it. Israel's getting the upper hand. So when Donald Trump saw Israel getting the upper hand, he said, I got to get a piece of that. And then he went in with the B-2 bombers and was going to try to end the war. So he got the glory. Well, he fucked that up too. He didn't end the war, and he didn't do what he said he was going to do. So the World Cup happens, and we have a champion. Now, either side could have won, but it happened to be Chelsea, and Donald Trump had to get up on stage and get the cheers. The only unfortunate thing is, wherever he goes, he gets booed now. So that's got to be getting in his head a little bit. Richard Beeson, do you, honest to God, believe the BS you're spewing? Much of it is blatant lies. If you do, well, Richard Beeson, I will see that you are blocked. My moderators are doing a good job. I'm getting more Trumplefucks here than I thought I might. He is blocked. Do I honestly believe the BS I'm spewing out? Absolutely, I believe it. It's because I can read, I can hear, and I comprehend, and I can also tell the difference between truth and lies. Clearly, Mr. Beeson is not capable of that. So that's why you're blocked. You're not smart enough to be here. What else we got here? Trump is doing an awesome job. Good comeback. Please tell me what job he's doing so well at. Actually, don't bother, because you've just been blocked. We don't care what you think. You're obviously not very bright, and we don't care what you think. Kate says, I'm too old to leave, but this is worse than the 70s. Older boomer here. Well, the 70s weren't as bad as the 60s. The 70s weren't as bad as the 60s, but It's bad in a different way. You have to understand there may have been just as many problems in the 60s, probably were, but we didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. We didn't have the internet. We weren't constantly being barraged by information. So it's a different world, but nonetheless, Kate, you're an older boomer, okay? Let me put it to you this way, Kate. Kate, you and I are old. I'm 65. In our lives, we've been through some shit. We've gone through trials, tribulations, tragedies, things that we wouldn't think that we were going to get past. I'm sure you would agree with that, Kate. But here we the fuck are, 65, older yet, and we're still here, and we're thriving. This is what I mean. We always get through these things ultimately. Mark says Democrats have a 19% approval rating. I don't know if that's the percentage, but it doesn't surprise me. The Democrats have some issues. I've often thought people will get on me because I'll rip the Democrats from time to time. Well, you lost in a big way in November 5th. You lost the House, you lost the Senate, and you lost the presidency. And you still want to continue to do what you're doing. Not surprising that you have a low approval rating. We have some time to bring that back up, and I would think the Republicans' approval rating's dropping like a rock too. Sometimes I think that we almost have to have a complete overhaul of our governmental system, because while the Republicans are a fucking dumpster fire and they need to go, the Democrats have their share of problems too. There's a handful of good Democrats, like the Ossoffs, the AOCs, the Jasmine Crockett, Gavin Newsom. There's a lot of people that are good, but not the vast majority. I'm thinking maybe what we should do, instead of having parties, we should take all the presidential candidates and put them in a stadium and have our own little fucking Hunger Games, because those Republicans are cowards. So I think the Democrats would have a better shot at it. Hoy Janice, carefree wherever we may be, we are the famous CFC. I don't know if that's from a song or what. You're above my head there, Janice. Let's see. Ankles, gut, and diaper. Yeah. I'd like to be a reporter and say, he's getting hit with Epstein and Iran and tariffs and all that stuff. I'd like to just sit in front of Donna and go, Don, what the fuck is up with your ankles, for Christ's sake? I'm an old guy too, but my ankles don't look like that. How are you retaining so much water? And if you're retaining so much water, how is it you only weigh 224 pounds, you stupid son of a bitch? TJ says, please don't interact with the trolls. I'll kick them out. Yeah, TJ's a vicious moderator. He sees them say some stupid little thing, they gone. If I see him, I try to block them, and lately, the ones I've been finding, they're already blocked. So good job, TJ. Thank you for that. B Action, he cares only for himself. We never cared about U.S. Yeah, I mean, that's part and parcel to what a narcissist is. They have no empathy. They don't care about anybody else. It's all about self-aggrandization. And the thing about it is, with Donald Trump and every other narcissist, you have to understand why they do that. They have an immense insecurity. They are very insecure. They're afraid that people are going to find out who they truly are, losers. And Donald Trump knows he's a loser because his father told him he was a loser most of his life. He had an older brother that was the smart one, but he was so traumatized by living in that family, he drank himself to death, unfortunately. So it was left to Donald Trump, the dumber, younger son, and he took off with it. Throughout his whole life, he's been had to be pulled out of trouble. He couldn't graduate from school on his own part. Well, he couldn't get into school on his own part, so he had to have somebody take his SAT test. He can't get into any particular school, so Dad has to put a bunch of money into it, so he gets into school. We don't even know if he graduated, to be perfectly honest with you. He's not smart enough to graduate, and he's certainly not focused enough to do anything in school. So now he tells us he's the smartest guy in the world. And through that whole process, when he became a businessman, and I use that term loosely because he's not a businessman. When you fail at everything you do, and he has failed at everything he does, he's not really a businessman. He's a fucking goof. But every time he's been in business, Dad has had to bail him out to the tune of almost $400 million over a period of time. Then Dad dies. He steals all the money from his family. He goes through that because he continues to lose. And then he needed to find another sugar daddy. And guess who he found? He found Russia and Vladimir Putin. They thought they could co-opt him by giving him money. God damn it, they were able to do that. They co-opted him. They laundered money through Trump Tower. They handed him money. There was a period of time when he was so broke that nobody thought he'd come back. And then all of a sudden, magically, he was back. That was because of the Russian money. And you got to wonder, what... who's going to save him now? Because I don't think Russia's really feeling him anymore. Daryl Horton 9 says, you wear diapers. Oh, good comeback. I don't wear diapers. There have been some days probably would have helped, but I'm 65 fucking years old. Daryl, here's the thing. Somebody like this comes here and talks shit about me or calls me a name or something. Listen, I grew up with a dad who was a narcissist. I grew up with a dad that said horrific things to his kids. I grew a very thick shell. As soon as I got old enough, I realized very quickly what he says doesn't mean shit, and I never thought about it again. So if you think some guy named Daryl Horton in the middle of bumfuck Egypt says to me something, I'm going to say, fuck you. I don't care. Actually, I think it's funny. Jennifer Davis says, Chelsea will have a craptastic season. Every sports team Trump has touched has had bad luck. That is true. I don't know if you remember back in the old days when we had something called the USFL. Donald Trump owned a team, the New York team in the USFL. And one of the reasons he owned that team is because he tried to buy an NFL team, and the NFL owner said, fuck no, we don't want that clown in here. So he was mad at the NFL. The USFL starts off, I'm working at a radio station and producing the network feed, and it's going okay. None of these extra football teams ever really pan out. I mean, the NFL's got it pretty well locked down. And so he's in the USFL, and he wants revenge. He wants to fight back. So he encourages the USFL to compete with the NFL in the fall. It was in the spring or the summer when the USFL was out there, but he convinced them to do that and go up against the NFL. Well, as you can imagine, that didn't work out too well. And where's the USFL now? That took a shit. Smiley, he's from Clarksville, Tennessee. I was in Tennessee last week. I drove through Tennessee as we were driving down to Georgia. I stopped off. I stayed at a Embassy Suites in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. That was one of the nicest fucking Embassy Suites I've ever been in. I was surprised. Michael King says, you rock, man. Thank you. You rock too. Rand Paul, any thoughts on him? Well, Rand Paul's kind of a goof. He got his ass kicked by his neighbor, and I thought that was great. Rand Paul kicked by his neighbor, and I thought that was great. Rand Paul is not a fan of Donald Trump, and he fights back, He fought back against this bill. But what you have to understand, what you have to understand about Rand Paul and why he didn't like this bill, it was because it didn't cut out enough. So while people may think he was our friend in that fight, he was not. He's never been our friend. Hi from Ohio. Love Ohio. I've got some people that are on the show on a regular basis that come from Ohio. And now he wants to own a team after he tells Congress to build a stadium in D.C. Am I wrong? Excuse me. I hadn't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. He just said that, anytime he thinks there's some glory to be had, he'll want to jump on it. He's a very reactionary, emotional guy. So he just says things out of the blue. And he doesn't think about anything he does. So that wouldn't surprise me. Why is it everyone thought Trump was great when he was a Democrat? No one thought Trump was great. Everybody thought he was a goof from the beginning. He's a failure. He's a loser. And just as knowing what I know about somebody who makes a comment like that, you're blocked too, Steve, you dumb son of a bitch. What happened to him having a stupid MMA BS on the White House lawn? I heard about that. He's going to have a UFC fight on the White House lawn. I thought it was just a joke, and I didn't hear about it. But then I just heard somebody talk about it. It would not surprise me if he has an outdoor UFC thing. Dana White, the guy that owns UFC, is his best buddy. And that's enough reason not to watch any UFC fights. If you've got a Trump lover who's running that organization, I don't want them to make any money off of me. I don't know if that's really going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me. At Steve, I don't know where you get your information. No one ever thought he was great. No, they didn't. They thought he was a failure. Remember back in the day when he lost all his money and then all of a sudden he had money? Anybody that had any interactions with Donald Trump did not like Donald Trump. And that's the way it is with narcissists. From a distance, and if you're stupid, a narcissist looks pretty good, pretty sharp, maybe charismatic, has a lot of money, and from a distance, they look good. But the moment you get close to a Trump type of guy, you see the cracks. You see how horrible the human being is. And you'll notice that Donald Trump never has any close friends. His family's never around him. They're going to try to make money off of the connection with Donald Trump. But, nobody thought he was a great guy. And the only people that think he's a great guy now are dumb motherfuckers. So what's that say? Hi from Cunica, Ecuador, formerly Kansas. Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen you before. You were formerly of Kansas, now you're in Ecuador. Do you feel better now that you're out of the country? Do you feel a little safer? What do you think the chances of the Democrats winning big in the midterms? Well, I think it's an excellent chance, especially if things continue the way they're going. People wanted lower prices and lower inflation, and that's not happened. The deportations aren't doing well for him. The big bullshit bill, that's not going to work for him. I will tell you this. On November 5th, I used logic and common sense, and I said Kamala Harris was going to win. Logic and common sense. And then, of course, we saw what happened. She did not win. And it was confusing for me at that moment, thinking, logic and common sense don't work anymore? That's not a thing anymore? We can't count on that? So logic and common sense tells me that the midterms are going to be horrible for the Republicans. And I believe that's going to be the case. But there's a side of me that says, I was surprised on November 5th. I just hope to God I'm not surprised in 2026. Trump was never great. I agree. Glad to see someone with their facts in line. Thank you very much. I try to be very cautious about what I talk about. I see a lot of creators out here, and they will spew things because they think it sounds exciting or it's cool, but they haven't checked it out. I like to check things out before I say them because, if there's actually people who come here and count on what I'm saying, I at least they deserve to hear at least what I believe is the truth. See, temptation is here. Roll Tide Man. This host is a joke. I've seen this bad show before. Yeah, and he's blocked, of course. I got a question for you. If you don't like what we're doing here, why are you watching it, dumb fuck? Why are you watching it? I see a bunch of Trumplafucks on lives when I go through TikTok, and you know what I don't do? I don't stop and listen because it's fucking ignorant. Next 4th of July and Hunger Games. I'm with you. Will. That's Will, who's on the show frequently. Yeah, let's just put them in an arena and let them fight it out. See who's toughest. We got some young guys on the Democratic side. I'd like to see John Ossoff go up against Grassley. That would be a good one. Stop your lies. I have a serious question. Do you have life? Like, what does your family think about you? I have a life. Actually, I have a pretty good life. And that's why I always say, we all go through things. I'm 65 years old. I'm retired. I'm not rich, but I have enough money to do the things I want to do. I lead a pretty relaxed life. I go to bed when I want to. I get up when I want to. My wife and I go out all the time and do things, fun things. So my life's good. I'm guessing Roll Tide. I'm guessing whatever the fuck your name is. I'm guessing your life sucks. I mean, if you like Donald Trump and you're on the lower side of the income thing, Donald Trump's coming for your shit. Even though life is tough for you now, he's going to make it worse for you. Somebody says, I'm a hateful man. That's funny. People will say, you just hate Donald Trump. Yeah, I hate Donald Trump. Yeah, I hate Donald Trump. Something happened here. I thought I got kicked off, but I didn't. Yeah, I am a hateful man when it comes to Donald Trump. A guy that's lied tens of thousands of times. A guy that's locked up kids in cages. A guy that's physically assaulted multiple women. A guy that's stolen documents from this country and given them to our adversaries. A guy that was tied to the Epstein files. Yeah, what's not to hate? If you can't hate that person, who can you hate? So yes, I do hate Donald Trump, and I hate anybody that follows him. And see, this is where the Republicans and the Trump-fucks get confused when they talk to me. They think that I'm going to be the nice and calm and tolerant Democrat. Well, the fact of the matter is I'm not a Democrat. I don't believe in Republican over Democrat or Democrat over Republican. I believe in right over wrong. I believe in truth over lies. And whoever's giving me the truth and whoever's doing right, I support that. And those people are hard to come by. Londi Love says, what if that lady does spill the list and who knows, she will tell the truth? You're talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, the accessory to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Yeah, there's talk that she wants to testify in front of Congress and that she might release the list in hopes of getting off on a lighter sentence. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Who's to say that she's going to tell the truth? I wouldn't trust her. She's been convicted of trafficking. And yeah, I don't trust her at all. I think the list, actually, I don't think there's a list per se. And I think that's what the Republicans were trying to do. They were trying to use semantics. There's no list. And there probably isn't a list, but there is tons and tons, terabytes and terabytes of evidence. And in those documents that are the evidence, there are names listed. The little bit that we got, we saw a lot of redactions. You don't have to give me a list. Give me the evidence we know exists, unredact it, and let us read the fucker. It's as simple as that. Now, what they're trying to say is, well, there are some people that haven't been prosecuted and they may or may not be guilty. My question is, if there's a bunch of people in these documents with a bunch of accusations, why haven't they been investigated? Why haven't they been prosecuted? It's because they have money or fame or power or whatever, and they just don't do it. I heard somebody say something today that I thought was very profound. And it was, if we just believed women, we wouldn't have to see the documents. And that's exactly right. If we just believed what women said, we wouldn't have to see the documents. And that's what we really need to do. We need to believe people who are making these claims as opposed to suggesting that every one of them's a liar. I mean, Donald Trump did this. He had 26 women come up and say he sexually assaulted them, and Donald Trump says they all lied. Well, odds, that makes no sense. That's not going to happen. One storyteller says he'll grift that too, selling tickets for the fight. Yeah, no question. And he'll probably sell tickets to sit around him at ringside for $1 million apiece. Thanks for the work you do. Keep it up. Gives me hope. Thank you. I'm happy to do it. Heidi Gal says, Roll Tide, man, no one is keeping you here. Bye. Well, he's been blocked, Heidi, so he's back where he belongs in the shit house, back with his own kind. Ghibli says the Trump administration is making moves, the movie Idiocracy, a reality in the U.S. Yeah, if you've ever seen Idiocracy, you know what we're talking about. And the movie is really kind of absurd, but every day there seems to be some absurdities in this country, and it does get closer and closer. Now, Trish Broughton says, "Boy, are you a jealous man." Are you talking to me? What am I jealous about? I'm not jealous. But if that's who you are, you're gone too. If you're a Trump fan, you got no business here. We're not going to tolerate you. Can you explain how the Heritage Foundation got control? Yeah, money. They infiltrated the Republican Party, handed out a bunch of money, got Donald Trump on board. Donald Trump doesn't understand the Heritage Foundation. He just knows if he does what they tell him, he'll get money and power and all that stuff. It's like everything. How does AIPAC have an influence in Congress? Well, they have everybody on the fucking payroll, Democrats and Republicans. It's all about money. What do you think about Elon Musk now? Well, I will tell you, I still hate Elon Musk. I think he is a scourge on this country. I think he's done a lot of damage to our government and to our departments. But I will tell you this. If he goes after Donald Trump and they have a fight and they destroy one another, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Because I don't care for Elon. I think he's a weirdo. I think he's working against this country. And just because he might be fighting with Donald Trump, he isn't on my side. He isn't a friend of mine. How much money do you think Trump has to pay Melania just to stay with him? That's a good question. I will tell you this about Melania, though. Some people think, oh, poor Melania, she's married to Donald Trump. Melania knew what she was getting into. She was from a foreign country. Donald Trump got her run through the immigration, oddly enough, saying she was very smart and a supermodel. She was neither one of those things. She wasn't a supermodel. She may have been one of Jeffrey Epstein's workers per se. And then Donald Trump brings her parents in as well. So she's as much an immigrant threat as anybody Donald Trump's throwing out. Bob McLean says, saw you and Will this morning. Yeah, Will and I did a podcast. I put it out at like midnight, and it ran all day today. No dog, no music, no friends. Kind of agree with you. I'm not sure what you mean. Why not Trump was selling Tesla in front of the White House? Well, see, that's how Donald Trump is. Donald Trump can have somebody that he loves, and if they say one bad thing against him, he's the worst human ever. That's why everybody that was in his cabinet in his first term, oh, these are the best people. These are the smartest people. He fired every one of them. And those that didn't get fired, they quit. And that's why he has the losers he has now in his cabinet. It's not that he didn't want to hire better people. It's that nobody with any reasonable mind is going to work for Donald Trump because it was going to go badly. The people that took the jobs didn't really have much else going. People like Kash Patel, people like Pam Bondi, people like Dan Bongino, Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is a drunken piece of shit. We have to stick with the Epstein thing. Seems like that's a sore thumb. Yeah, it seems weird. It seems weird that this is the one thing that may break Donald Trump. But let's not worry about how weird it is. Let's recognize the fact that this is the sticking point. Donald Trump can do all these crazy things, and we can argue about it, and we can fight with him over it, and we can do all these things. But the Republicans, the Trumplafucks, still back him no matter what. This is the one situation, as crazy as it may seem, that they're pushing back. So now that they're pushing back, we've got to be able to latch on to that. Now, he's trying to divert and distract from this, and some of the people he's talking to are backing down a little bit, but then they get hit by the Trumplafucks, so they're caught in a bad spot too. But we do have to keep talking about this. People keep having to ask questions. The press has to continue to talk about this. This isn't going to go away, and we've got to keep it moving and keep it strong. Baseball dad said, he's a great man. Call me an idiot. Okay, you're an idiot. And you're blocked too. Because if you think Donald Trump's a great man, you're not smart enough to be in this group. Alessia says, where are the moderators? We've got at least one moderator here, so thank you. What do you think of Gavin Newsom running for president? Well, I think Gavin Newsom probably will run for president. He's got some issues. He's kind of an establishment politician. I don't know that he's the best choice for president, but based on a comparison to what we've got now, I think it's a pretty good chance. I listened to him talk. He's very articulate. He's not afraid to go after Donald Trump. He is a fighter. So I think in that regard, he would be a good candidate. Whether he'd be a good president once he got elected, I don't know. But he does know how to run things. My only concern is he's a very establishment type of politician. And when people voted for Donald Trump, they are tired of establishment politicians. I would vote, if he was a Democratic candidate, I would vote for him. I think there are better options. But at this point, we can't worry about who wins the presidency in 2028. We just have to make sure it's a Democrat and not a Republican. And whoever that needs to be to get that done, I'm on board. Marcia says, we have to stick with the Epstein thing. Seems like the sore thumb. Yeah, absolutely. We got to run that down their throat every minute of every day. Mac Attack, he was for anyone who could do him a favor. Most of the NYC politicians are Democrats, so that's why he was a Democrat. Yeah. Well, let's be honest. Trumplafucks may be sore to hear about this, but Donald Trump was a contributor to Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. He was a contributor. He was friends of theirs. So for him to come out and talk about how horrible they are, it's ironic because he gave them a lot of money. Elon fixed the vote. Yeah, that's a distinct possibility, something we have to look into and find out. But I will tell you this. There are a lot of people out there that say Elon fixed the vote. We're going to find out. They'll kick Donald Trump out and Kamala will be the president. That's not going to happen. As Eric has always told us, there is nowhere in the Constitution that allows to make that transition or that change. What's going to happen is if we find out there was some funny business with the election, we're going to have to deal with it with prosecutions, and we'll still go to 2028 and have another election. Now, if it's shown the Republicans did this, it's not going to wear well for them in the 2020 election, but no drastic changes are going to happen. The only way we get a dramatic change in the presidency at this point, because I don't really think the Republicans are going to impeach him under any circumstances, and I thought they might at one point. But if they do that, they're going to divide the Republican Party even further. The base will never forgive them, and they will lose 30% of their voting power if they impeach him. The only way we get past Donald Trump at this point is if he chokes on a Big Mac and keels over in the Oval Office. Egypt. Sorry, no offense, but you use neither logic or common sense. Well, I understand that you may not be able to recognize logic or common sense, so I'm not surprised you would say that. I can see that you're already blocked, so our moderators figured out that you're Egypt, and blocked you. As I've said before, you people aren't smart enough to be in this little group of people. We're talking about truth and facts and justice and that sort of thing, and you people just can't comprehend that bullshit. Let's see. Mike, make me a mod so I can help TJ. Okay, let me see if I can do that. Okay, Trucker T, poof, you're a mod. Charlize says, good evening, Boomer. Good evening, Charlize. Boot says, Kamala should have won and we would have been in a better place. No question about it. Kamala is a reasonably minded woman who had a plan, who knew what she was doing. To this day, I'm upset, I'm disappointed, and I'm just flummoxed by how she lost. I think Kamala would have been a great president, certainly better than Donald Trump, but a cheeseburger would have been better than Donald Trump. If people had stood up for Aunt Rosie when he attacked her, God only knows we'd be in this mess right now. Yeah, absolutely. David said, what's up from Monterey Park, California? Keep doing a great job. Hey, Monterey Park, I love that place. I've been there once, I think. Beautiful area. Juan Antonio Colon, I don't trust the voting system anymore, and I feel it's rigged. I get that. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. The one thing I will tell you, if we can focus on the presidential election and get that fixed, I think we're in good shape. It's much harder to fix all these reps and all these senators and all these state elections. That's hard to influence. But I get it, man. I get it. You don't trust. Well, who do we trust now? We don't trust the president. We don't trust Congress. We don't trust the Supreme Court. We don't trust the DOJ. That's the big problem here. We don't trust anything, and we have, and justifiably so. Derek Maloney says, do your research. That sounds like a Trump-the-fuck move to me, and he's not blocked yet. Oh, whoops. He's now blocked. And if I blocked you inadvertently, incorrectly, let me know, and I will change it. Will's here. Will's from Georgia. He was on the podcast today, and Will has Will and I have similar problems. Will has had a couple of accounts banned. Now he's on his third account. He did a live and they banned him from his lives. As some of you know, on my regular account, my bigger account, I was banned. I was kicked off a live yesterday. They said I gave misinformation. Now, they didn't specify what information I gave that was misinformation. I went to appeal it, and they said, nope. And now I can't do a live on my other account for, well, to July 21st. And I thought, well, what am I going to do now that I can't do a live? I got a second account. I can do a live here. And this is where we are. Who will be the Democratic 28th presidential nominee? Nobody really knows that. It's too early to tell. Things can change. I think Gavin Newsom is probably a front runner. I think John Ossoff is a front runner. Other than that, I'm not sure. People have to step out and step forward to be likely candidates. And we're going to have to do that at some point soon. I think one of the reasons we don't know yet, because of the strategy of the Republicans, the only thing they know how to do, they don't talk about policy or anything like that. Whoever is the main candidate, they're just going to go after him and try to tear him apart, tear him down, like they did with Biden, like they did with Kamala. So that's all they're going to do. Now, I find it interesting if Gavin Newsom is the chosen one as we go further toward the 2028 elections. They don't seem to have a lot of luck trying to tear him down because he's just as mean as they are. So we'll see. When is anyone going to actually take a deep dive into Musk buying the election for Donald Trump? Well, here's what you got to understand. I get this a lot. Why isn't Donald Trump impeached? Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? And it's very simple. Republicans have control of the House, they have control of the Senate, and they have control of the presidency. This is how Donald Trump is getting away with everything, because the DOJ isn't going to come after him because Donald Trump owns the fucking DOJ. What has to happen is the Democrats have to get control of at least the House in 2026, and hopefully the Senate too. But if the Democrats get control of the House for the next 2 years, nothing's going to get done on Donald Trump's side, and there'll be nothing but hearings and investigations and exposing all of Donald Trump's criminal behavior, and he's likely to be impeached again. You rule for reals, man. How do you subscribe to your cast? I don't know. I have another account, Rational Boomer, and this is Rational Boomer too. I think you can just hit a subscribe button, go to the profile page and hit subscribe. I think that's all you do. Some are saying Kamala is a front runner. Makes sense now that we've seen what Trump has done. I would love to see Kamala be the Trump front runner. And I would love to see her win the presidency. I'm a little dubious about that. One of the things I think we realized on November 5th is that this country is far more racist and sexist than we imagine. And I think it's not just sexist than we imagine. And I think it's not just Republicans that are racist and or sexist. I think we have a faction of the Democrats that are that way. So while I'd like to see Kamala run for president again, I'm afraid of it because of what happened on November 5th. And like I said, we've just got to win one way or another, whoever it is. Once we win and start getting things back to normal, then we can look at a female or a black female president. It's fucked up. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but I'm afraid that's where we're at. The Supreme Court is blatantly corrupt. They don't even try to hide it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Supreme Court is hardly supreme anymore. That's a problem. We don't have a legitimate Supreme Court, and that is a problem because that is one of the branches that we count on. And if that is falling short, then we've got some problems. There needs to be an incredible, once Democrats get power, there's got to be a huge overhaul to the Supreme Court. Do you think he will get impeached after the midterm elections? Assuming the Democrats win the House, yeah, he'll get impeached. They'll do it again. They aren't going to pass any bills, so they might as well impeach the motherfucker. Raphael asked a question that a lot of people ask. How the hell was he allowed to run for president? Well, the reason he was allowed to be president was because nowhere in the Constitution did it say somebody who had a criminal record can't run for president. That's why. And some might say, well, why didn't they put that in there? Because nobody thought we'd be stupid enough to elect a fucking felon to be president. It didn't say it in the Constitution, so that's why he was able to run. Gabriel Three Bug says, and he's responding to Glenda Fonseca, I call Hakeem Apex Shakur. I like that. I like that a lot. Hakeem Jeffries has been a real disappointment for me. When I first saw him, I thought, oh, this guy's great. He's going to be a great Speaker of the House. He's tough. He's strong. And then when we realized he's pretty much a puppet to the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and those people, it really disappointed me in him. I'm hoping against hope that maybe he can change his ways, but I don't have a lot of confidence in him at this point. Sadly, Democrats won't be able to reverse the damage Republicans have done. I disagree with you. They will be able to reverse it, but understand it's going to take a while, and you're going to have to make sure Democrats stay in power. A lot of people may be under the idea that if we get a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate, that we'll be able to switch it like that. No. There's been too much damage. It's going to take some time, but at least we'll be on the right path. They will be able to reverse it, but it will take some time. Now, somebody like me, I don't have as much time as a lot of people. Maybe I don't see it, but at least we'll be on the track to get it there. Dennis says, I would love to see her run as well. We MAGAs will score again. Like you're scoring now, dipshit? Are you scoring now? Dennis is already blocked, by the way. The damage can be undone. We'll just take time and money. You're absolutely right. Sad commentary on a country that a woman can't win. Yeah, that is a sad commentary. I mean, we've had old white men running this country for so many years. It's about time we change things up. I'm ready for a woman as president. I'm ready for a black woman as president. I don't give a fuck what color they are. Just somebody who believes in truth and justice and facts and decency. That's all I ask of a president. Lib tears for another 3.5 years. Keep it coming. You guys are so brilliant. Boston on top. He's got a... Well, I got to see this fucker's hat, if I can see it. Maybe I can't. But he is if you look at his profile, he is the dipshit you would expect him to be. Do you think a woman will ever win? Yeah, I do. I do think they will win eventually. I'm just worried about this next time. After what we saw on November 5th, I don't want to take any risk and have a Republican win in 2028, because at that point, I think we may be too far gone. Yes, I think Obama is. They'll never elect another black president. I don't believe that's true either. I think there's more taste in this country to hire a black man than there is a white or black woman, unfortunately. Need to do away with the Supreme Court and lifelong terms. Yeah. There's got to be a big overhaul to the Supreme Court. Some people say they should be elected. I don't think that's a good idea. They should have term limits. And I've said this on the podcast before. If you want the Supreme Court to really be dealing with rule of law and not partisanship, what we should insist on, if we're going to have 9 people on the Supreme Court, no matter what, no matter who's president, we should have 4 liberal and 4 conservative. And we should have a Supreme Court Chief Justice that's kind of in the middle. That's the only way we get real democratic answers and decisions on rule of law out of the Supreme Court. I don't know that that's possible, but it is what would make things work better in this country. Sylvia Alma says, you are totally correct. Hate and racism is out of control. It is. And I will tell you this, Sylvia, people have said, oh, racism has really gotten worse lately. No, I don't think so. I think racism and hate has always been bad. If you go back to the 60s, even the 70s to a certain extent, you have to understand that racism was just accepted. It was just part of life. Nobody really complained about it other than people of color, but white people thought, they're lesser than us. And then over time, we've got the civil rights and some things like that, and then you didn't hear as much about the racism. But the racism didn't go away. White people like me would say, oh, racism's better. Yeah, that's what we white people would say. But if you talk to people of color, you go, yeah, the racism's there. You just don't see it in the open as much. So these people pretty much climbed under rocks and hid because it wasn't appropriate to say the things they believed. But they never changed their beliefs. It wasn't until Donald Trump came out and started spewing his hatred and his racism and made it cool to be racist again that these people came from under their rocks and started to join the fucking crowd. So it's always been a problem. It may always be a problem. Maybe the only thing we can do is push them back under the rocks and shut them the fuck up. Why we need to take the Senate and hold it. Yeah, I mean, everything would be much better if we took the House and the Senate. And if we took the Senate in a big way, we could impeach and kick Donald Trump the fuck out. I agree with you about that. After we win again, then we can become more progressive. Yeah, we got to get the win first. See, that's the problem. A lot of people, like with Kamala, said, well, she's not exactly what I want. I want it all now. Here's what you need to understand. We're not going to get it all now. No way. But we need to get on the right path to get what we want. So whoever's the candidate, if he's not or she's not everything that you want, don't worry about that. Because if you vote for the Democrat, at least down the road you have the chance to get to where you want to go. If you vote for the Republican, you're fucking done. You'll never get what you want. If the Dems win the House, our country is doomed. Yeah. Well, the Republicans have it now, and guess what? It seems like we're fucking doomed. Do you think JD would be a better president because that's what it's coming down to? No, I don't. JD is a loser. He's not very bright. He has no respect. Nobody respects him. A lot of Trump-fucks hate him. People are worried, well, if Donald Trump goes, JD will be worse. No, he won't. Ideologically, he is worse in a way because he has some cognitive abilities, but he's completely controlled by other people. And if Donald Trump goes down, the Republicans are going to try to have to figure out how to make things a little more settled with the Republican Party, or they're never going to get reelected. The one thing J.D. Vance would have working against him that Donald Trump doesn't have is Donald Trump doesn't have to get reelected. J.D. Vance does, so he's got to settle things down. And after getting their asses kicked in the midterm elections, he's going to have to figure something else out. Now, understand, J.D. Vance is president. That's fucked up. That's big time fucked up. But we have to deal with the problem at hand and then worry about the next thing. The biggest problem right now is Donald Trump. We get rid of him, and then we can deal with J.D. Vance after that. We can't fix everything all at once. John Roberts allowed him to run, yeah. They all become a disappointment. Spineless, racist is why he got to be president. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Do you think Congress will change the Constitution where a criminal will not be able to run for president? I would think so. And I would think the one thing that we want to change too is this little memo that was sent through the FBI that says we don't indict sitting presidents. And then the Supreme Court says we give them immunity. I think those things will change. And I think the Republicans will jump on board with that because a Democrat will be president, and the Democrat could do everything that Donald Trump did. So God help them if we get a Democrat that's as big a loser as Donald Trump. Juan Antonio Colon says, you are spot on with everything that you're saying. It's all researched and factual. Thank you for this valuable. Then he's cut off. Let's see. We're getting down to that point where I'm going to wrap things up. We're beyond the hour point. We're going on an hour and 20 or so. And based on my experience with the last live on TikTok, I want to hedge my bets a little bit so I don't shut this one down. Will anything be done about how they're doing deportation? Yeah, something will be done about it. Unfortunately, probably not till the 2026 midterms. And then when this is all done and Donald Trump is no longer president, there is going to be some Nuremberg type trials, I believe, because some of the crimes against humanity are just egregious. These people who work for ICE that think they've got this all made, their masks are going to come off and people are going to be prosecuting them. Donald Trump may be prosecuted on these things because he has immunity, but not for crimes against humanity. We are so fortunate to have Donald Trump. Yeah, I bet you he's blocked. I bet he's blocked. Yep, he's blocked. Well, like I say, we're getting down to the last minutes here, and I want to thank TJ and Trucker T and everybody else that's been the moderator. I didn't expect that I would need a moderator on this because it's a smaller group of people with this account. But God damn it, they're like cockroaches. They come out of the fucking woodwork and they find a way. Mary says Mexico has a strong woman president. Yes, they do. I would give anything for her to be our president. She's impressive. There's no question about it. Please badmouth Citizens United every day. Yeah, Citizens United is the scourge of this country. We've got to get money out of politics because that is the worst part of this. That is what's causing us a lot of problems. That is why we have members of Congress that don't work for us. And I'm not just talking about Republicans. We're talking about Democrats, too. We've got to get money out of it. Supreme Court, after 10 years, they should have to run to keep their seats. Vote yes to keep them. What about how they're deporting people? Yeah, I mean, it's just horrific. It's atrocities that they're committing. And unfortunately, we have a DOJ that's complicit with Donald Trump, and they won't do shit about it. That's why it's important that we win in 2026. People just aren't hiding it. Trump just brought it out. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to wrap up this live, and I want to thank you all for coming. I didn't know what to expect, if anybody would show up or not. So I'm very grateful to the moderators that showed up and to the people to ask the questions. Like I told you, I didn't have anything planned. So without you folks offering up your perspective, questions, comments, this would have been a tough show to do. So I appreciate you coming in very, very much. I want to thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I hope you have a great day, and we'll be talking again tomorrow.